Every waitress at Mel's diner had the same training. When the leather vests walked in, you took their order fast, you kept the coffee coming, and you absolutely did not make small talk. The veterans knew this. They'd learned it over years of watching the Hells Angels roll into the parking lot on Sunday mornings, their motorcycles lined up like a wall of chrome and danger. Sarah had been working there for exactly 4 days. She saw them through the window first, 8 bikes, maybe 9, pulling into the lot with that deep rumble that made the silverware rattle. The other waitresses suddenly got very busy with the back tables. Carol, who'd worked there for 16 years, caught Sarah's arm. "I'll take section 3 today. That's my section." "Not anymore, it isn't." Carol's voice had gone flat. "Trust me, honey, let them eat in peace." But Sarah was already walking toward the door, coffee pot in hand, as the first of them pushed inside. He was enormous, 6'4" at least, with a grey beard that reached mid-chest and arms covered in ink. The patch on his vest read Sergeant at Arms. Sarah didn't know what that meant, but it sounded important. Dangerous. Behind him, 7 more filed in. They looked like they'd ridden straight out of a movie about the kind of people her mother had warned her about. The kind of people you cross the street to avoid. They took the big corner booth, spreading out, filling the space with leather and metal and the smell of road dust and engine oil. The diner had gone quiet. Even the cook had stopped singing. Sarah took a breath. She thought about her father, who'd always said you could tell everything about a person by how you treated them first. She walked over. "Good morning, gentlemen. Coffee." The big one, the sergeant, looked up at her. His eyes were surprisingly light blue. "Yeah, black, all of us." She started pouring, working her way around the table. Her hand only shook a little. When she got to the man at the end, the one with the road name Hammer stitched above his pocket, she noticed his bike key sitting on the table. It was attached to a worn leather keychain, stamped with a Harley-Davidson logo that had been rubbed almost smooth. The words came out before she could stop them. "Hi, sir, my dad has a motorcycle just like yours." The table went silent. Hammer looked up at her slowly. Every eye in the diner was on them now. Sarah felt her face go hot. She'd broken the rule. She'd done exactly what Carol said not to do. "That right." Hammer's voice was gravel and motor oil. "A 1985 Softal. He restored it himself. Took him 3 years." She was babbling now, nervous. "He always said there was nothing like a Harley, that other bikes were just transportation, but a Harley was a conversation." Something shifted in Hammer's face. "Your old man sounds like he knows his shit." "He does. He did," she swallowed. "He taught me everything about bikes. Used to take me riding every Sunday morning before." She stopped. "Anyway, I'll give you folks a minute with the menus." She turned away quickly before they could see her eyes getting wet, before she had to explain that those Sunday morning rides had ended 6 months ago when the cancer got too bad. Before she had to say that the Softal was sitting in her garage under a tarp because she couldn't bear to sell it, but she didn't know how to ride it alone. Behind her, she heard low voices. She couldn't make out the words, but the tone had changed, softened somehow. When she came back to take their orders, the sergeant spoke first. "Your dad still ride?" Sarah shook her head. Didn't trust her voice. "He's sick," she nodded. "Hospitalized." "Hospice." The word was barely a whisper. 3 weeks now." The men exchanged looks. Some kind of silent communication passed between them, the way it did with people who'd ridden together long enough to become a language unto themselves. "What's his name?" This from a younger guy, maybe 30, with a scar through his eyebrow. "Jack." "Jack Morrison." "Jack Morrison." The sergeant repeated it like he was committing it to memory. "We'll take the number 4 breakfast, all of us. Extra bacon." They didn't leave when they finished eating. They sat there drinking coffee, talking in low voices, while Sarah handled her other tables. When she brought the check, there were $300 bills folded under the sugar dispenser. "Sir, the meal was $78. "Math ain't your strong suit." The sergeant's mouth twitched. Might have been a smile, hard to tell under all that beard. "I can't, you can." He stood up and the rest followed. "And tell Jack that the brothers send their respect." They filed out. Through the window, Sarah watched them mount their bikes, the morning sun flashing off chrome. They sat there for a moment, these dangerous-looking men, and then, in perfect unison, they revved their engines. Once, twice, 3 times. The sound shook the windows. A salute in the only language that mattered. Then they were gone, leaving nothing but the rumble fading down Highway 40 and $300 bills Sarah was holding with shaking hands. "What the hell did you say to them?" Carol was staring at her. I mentioned my dad's motorcycle." That was Sunday. On Monday they didn't come in. Sarah told herself she was relieved, told herself it was better this way, safer, normal. On Tuesday they were back, same time, same table. But this time the sergeant had something in his hand when he walked in, a piece of paper worn soft at the creases. "We did some asking around," he said, sliding into the booth. "Turns out we know some people who know your old man. Jack Morrison rode with the Vietnam Vets Motorcycle Club for 20 years, did charity rides for kids with cancer, taught motorcycle safety courses for free every summer." Sarah's throat went tight. "You knew him?" "Not personally, but we know of him. That's how it works. Bikers talk. Good ones get remembered." He unfolded the paper. "This is a list of every member of every MC within 200 miles. We're all contributing." The paper had names, dozens of names, and next to each name a dollar amount. Her vision blurred as she tried to read them. "What is this? Hospice ain't cheap, neither are funerals. Your dad's one of us, which makes you one of us. We take care of our own." "I don't understand." The sergeant's face softened. "Here's what you need to understand. Your dad spent 20 years making sure kids learned to ride safe, making sure veterans had brothers to ride with, making sure nobody was alone on the road. You think we're going to let his daughter struggle alone? That ain't how this works." She was crying now, right there in the middle of the diner, and she didn't care. "He never told me about the charity rides, about the teaching. He just said he liked riding with friends. That's how the good ones are. They don't do it for the credit." Hammer spoke up from the end of the table. "They do it because it's right." After that, they came every Tuesday and Thursday. Same time, same table, always requested Sarah, always left tips that made her other bills seem like pocket change. But more than that, they asked about her father. Wanted to know how he was doing, if he needed anything, if she needed anything. "He's sleeping more," she told them one Thursday, 3 weeks after that first meeting. "The nurses say it won't be long now. You been to see him today?" "I go after my shift." The sergeant checked his watch. "Your shift just ended. We're riding over there. You're coming with us." "I don't have a bike. You can ride with me." She'd never been on a motorcycle. Her father had always wanted to teach her, but there'd never been time, and then there'd been no time left at all. But she climbed on behind the sergeant, and when the engine roared to life beneath her, she understood. She understood why her father had loved this. The power, the freedom, the feeling that you were part of something bigger than yourself. They rode in formation, 8 bikes carrying 9 people, and when they pulled into the hospice parking lot, every head turned. The nurses looked nervous until they saw Sarah climb off the back of the sergeant's bike. "We're here to see Jack Morrison," the sergeant told the front desk. "All of us." "I don't think. Tell him the brothers are here." 5 minutes later, they were all crowded into her father's room. He looked so small in the bed, nothing like the man who'd seemed so strong on his softle. But when he saw the vests, the patches, the road-worn faces of these men who'd never met him but knew him anyway, his eyes went bright. "Brothers," he whispered. "Brother," they replied in unison. The sergeant stepped forward. "Jack Morrison, your name's been spoken in every clubhouse from here to the state line. You've got respect from people you've never met. That's a legacy." Her father's hand found Sarah's. "My real legacy's right here. We know, and we're going to make sure she's never alone. You got our word." Hammer pulled something from his pocket, the keychain, the worn leather Harley-Davidson emblem. He pressed it into Sarah's palm. "From all of us, so you remember, family isn't about blood, it's about who shows up when the road gets hard." Sarah's father died 4 days later, on a Sunday morning. The funeral was the following Saturday. 200 motorcycles showed up. They came from towns Sarah had never heard of, from clubs whose names she didn't recognize, wearing vests from a dozen different organizations. They lined the route from the funeral home to the cemetery, these dangerous-looking people, these men and women society taught her to fear. And when the service ended, when her father's ashes were settled in the ground, they started their engines. The sound was thunder, was tribute, was a family saying goodbye to one of their own. The sergeant found her afterwards, standing alone by the grave. "He'd have loved this," she said. "We know," he paused. "That softle in your garage, the 85. How did you? We know things. It's what we do. He handed her another piece of paper. This is a list of brothers who'll teach you to ride. Your dad wanted you to learn, now's the time. I'm scared. Good, fear keeps you sharp, but fear ain't a reason not to ride. He put a heavy hand on her shoulder. You're one of us now, that means you're never alone. That means when you're ready to pull that tarp off and fire her up, you'll have a whole family making sure you do it right. 6 months later, Sarah rode her father's softle for the first time. The sergeant rode in front, Hammer behind, and 20 other bikes surrounding her like a protective wall. They took the same route she and her father used to take on Sunday mornings, and when they stopped at the overlook, when the sun was setting over the valley below, she pulled out the keychain. The leather was warm from being in her pocket. The Harley logo was almost invisible now, rubbed smooth by her nervous fingers. But when she looked at it, she didn't just see a piece of leather. She saw her father. She saw these men who'd showed up when the world got dark. She saw a family that wasn't about blood, but about something stronger. Show up. That's what they'd taught her. When someone mentions their father's motorcycle, you listen. When someone's struggling, you contribute. When someone's alone, you ride beside them. The sergeant pulled up next to her, his bike rumbling like a heartbeat. Your old man would be proud. Sarah looked at the sunset, at the bikes lined up behind her, at this strange and beautiful family that had found her in a diner over coffee and a careless comment about motorcycles. I think he sent you, she said. I think he knew I'd need you and he sent you anyway. The sergeant smiled, a real smile this time. Maybe he did, or maybe that's just what family does. They show up, even when you don't know you need them yet. That night, Sarah added her own name to the list in the clubhouse, the list of people who'd show up, who'd contribute, who'd make sure nobody rode alone. Because she'd learned the truth about the people in leather vests, the ones society said to fear. They were just people who understood that the road was hard and nobody should have to ride it alone. On Sundays now, she still rides her father's route, but she's never alone. There's always at least one bike beside her, usually more. The waitresses at Mel's diner still get nervous when the leather vests walk in. But not Sarah. Sarah just pours the coffee and asks how their week has been, because family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up when you mention your father's motorcycle and the world feels like it's ending and you need someone to remind you that you're not riding alone. Family is the sound of engines, rumbling like thunder, like tribute, like a promise that echoes long after the riders have gone.